got a siren. City living.
This is Harlan Cohen, author, speaker, and syndicated advice columnist. Harlan is regarded as an expert in the challenging transition in that first year of college. He wrote a book called The Naked Roommate. His inspiration? His first year.
I was so miserable. I had the worst first year in college. It was a complete disaster, and I felt like such a failure. And it should have been great because everybody tells you college is this unbelievable experience, and you see the brochures and you see the websites.
This is the expectation that college is fantastic, life-changing. This is partly what makes the transition so jarring.
As a result of this experience, all I wanted to do when I realized that I'm not the only one was just tell the world. Tell the world that change is uncomfortable and that college is such a big change and it's okay.
Harlan describes the adjustment to first year as involving multiple transitions.
Well, there are 5 big areas of transition that students face. And first, it's social. It's how do you make friends? How do you find connections, relationships, love, not with all that.
So what was that first year like?
Oh, bad. Super bad.
This is Emma, now a fourth-year English major. She remembers struggling to make friends.
When I was not making friends and not fitting in as easily as I thought I would.
And it's not only friendships. Romantic relationships can also make your first-year experience harder than it needs to be.
I was pretty tethered to my partner at the time, and we began dating over the summer. I think I restricted myself from meeting other people because I was seeing someone.
If you can be happy, if you can find your people and places and do things that fill you up, and your significant other can do the same, and you choose to be together, that's a relationship that's going to last. But if you're dependent on the other person and you're always miserable, and your significant other doesn't want you to do things, doesn't want you to be in other places with other people, that's just not the way to live your college experience.
Another relationship flag, your roommate. Do not assume you're going to be friends.
The roommate rules are, do you want to get along? Do you give your roommate to be a roommate? A friendship's a bonus. Because if we expect our roommate to be a friend and that roommate's not a friend, we're disappointed and hurt. And then we resent that person, but friendship is not part of the roommate agreement. It's a bonus.
And stay tuned. We're going to hear from Harlan again in a few minutes when he talks about health and diet. There is a reason that freshman 15 is a thing.
We do an awful job, a horrendous job, helping students to do college right. It's all about getting in. It's not about what happens once you're there.
Earlier, Harlan talked about the first-year college experience as involving several areas of transition.
So there's social, emotional, then there's the physical transition, being in a new place, maybe living with someone, actually taking care of your health, your mind and body.
3 out of 4 students we interviewed had significant weight changes in their first year.
I was living on campus, so just, not being aware of what to eat and when to eat and how to eat. I gained a lot of weight in first year as well. Some people freshman 15, I believe I freshman 40'd.
It seems like something so simple, but taking care of yourself, sleeping enough, eating properly, just taking care of you is something that most college students haven't had to do. So that's one of the physical challenges that students will encounter.
And it's not always weight gain.
I had, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to give up meat and carbs in the same year. I was just eating vegetables, and looking back now, I'm I was hungry for most of that. I was tired and I was pissy because I was probably so hungry.
Well, I think any student who has had any challenges when it comes to dealing with transitions or change, anything that you've dealt with in high school, that's going to be your guide for college. So if you had a tough freshman year in high school, or if you had a tough time finding your places and your people. You should be thinking, okay, I have a history of this. This has been a little bit challenging for me.
Money can have a huge impact on this transition. In the next segment with Harlan, we'll hear about the financial side of first year.
There's the financial transition. How do you manage your money? How do you pay for college? And it's a huge area of stress for students.
For Gerver, now a fifth-year university student, his first-year experience was overwhelming.
Those things kind of hit me in first year. I was like, okay, I need to maybe pay my phone bill. I need to get a job now. I need to do my laundry. I can't just let my clothes sit on my bed for a week at a time.
It may not seem like much, but all at once, all these responsibilities can add up and begin to weigh on new students.
Financially, this is huge. There's so much responsibility. And I like to call it responsibility as opposed to debt, because when you call it responsibility, it's a little more manageable. It's like, what do you even mean by this? And what I mean is, however much money you take out in loans, you have to pay that back. So if you're taking out $80,000 in loans, and this isn't exact math, but you're probably going to have $700 or $800 a month to repay if, let's say, you do a 15-year repayment plan, and you're going to have a job that pays you about $80,000 roughly in order to afford this. So when you look at what loans mean, really look at what happens when you graduate, because that's going to tell you, what do I need to do?
And Harlan says, get yourself a great financial aid advisor. Let them direct you, and never be shy to ask for more money. In the final segment with Harlan, we hear about giving the students in our lives permission to be imperfect, and how it just might be the key to college success.
The last area is academic, which is crazy that 90% of our time in high school is spent preparing students so that they can be academically ready for college, when there's all these other areas, and it's those other areas that spill into our academic life.
My name is Kamil Somaratnam. I recently graduated from UBC with a degree in political science. I think, like most people, I found my transition to be a bit difficult. When I was in high school, I was a pretty good student. I had straight A's. So I think I had really good expectations of myself when I started university. And, I think like most people, it was a kind of a shock to get that first paper, get the first test result and see that you did really bad compared to other people.
Here's Gerver again.
I would go to lectures. I attended lectures. I did assignments, but I didn't really put in much effort. I just assumed that the 90s or the A's, whatever I got in high school, would just continue.
These stories are more common than you might think. The solution? Harlan says we need to be more sympathetic and even encourage imperfection.
And this is where, as parents, it's recognizing that, okay, I give you permission to be imperfect. And when you struggle, instead of hiding your C or your D or, God forbid, your F, let's celebrate it. And I don't mean have a party woo, you're failing. This is great. This is costing, $70,000 for you to fail. It's celebrate because now you know that you need help. And there are people and there are places, and you can get the help you need, which is actually going to help you to build deeper relationships based on really being honest and vulnerable.
In fact, sometimes failure can lead to unexpected places.
I failed one of my courses and I did somewhat bad in my other courses. So I was put on academic probation after my first year. So that kind of helped me figure out what I wanted to do in some ways. I had to decide on not on my major, but figure out what I was good at, and then focus on that instead of trying to be more experimental.
turns out Camille did exactly the right thing. According to Harlan, finding what you're good at, finding what and who makes you happy and comfortable can be the key to a more successful college experience.
It's where are the 3 places where you found connection and community? Who are the 5 people who have been in your corner that have helped you? And how long is it going to take for you to get comfortable with the uncomfortable?
Luckily, awareness of these potential hardships is on the rise, and there are resources you can tap into before you even get to college.
One thing you can do when you're looking at schools for you students and for you parents is actually look and see what kind of programs are available over the summer to help my son or daughter transition. Sometimes there'll be camps, sometimes there'll be overnight experiences. But again, all of these are resources to help students.
There's even a conference called the First Year Experience. And of course, people like Harlan Cohen.
The big missing piece is how do we help them before they're here? And this is my mission, and this is my passion, and this is why I'm so grateful to be here with you, because we're not telling people this stuff. Students aren't learning, and parents, they can be the ones to at least say, hey, I heard this is happening, and I want to make sure that you're prepared so that when you need it, you have it, the resources and support.
You can listen to more Extra Credits at Stitcher.com or on SoundCloud. Extra Credits are part of a podcast called Upgraded by Hobsons. Upgraded is a series for those with a keen interest in education, the good, the bad, and everything in between. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or simply head over to hobsons.com/upgraded.